In addition to using the framing square or combination square to lay out a 90-degree angle, you can use the 3-4-5 method. The 3-4-5 method works because the sum of the squares of each side of the right triangle is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the third side of a right triangle. To lay out this formula, mark off 3 equal units across the baseline of a piece of plywood. Then, using the same length unit, mark off 4 equal parts up the vertical side. When you've completed this, the distance between the ends of the two sides, the hypotenuse, is always equal to 5 units. Construction workers frequently make length, area, or volume measurements and calculations for job planning. Length is the linear measure of something, such as this molding. The length of the boundary of an object or structure is the perimeter. The perimeter of a rectangle is the sum of the sides. Or simply, 2 times the length plus 2 times the width equals the perimeter of the rectangle. Often you must know the distance around a circular object. This length is called the circumference. To find the circumference, determine the diameter or radius of the circular object, then use the formula circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. Another common calculation is the area or square measure of objects or layouts, such as squares, rectangles, triangles, and circles. The worker can easily determine the area or square unit of measure for each layout by applying a simple formula for each shape. Let's look at each shape and determine its surface area. For example, the formula for the square is area equals side times side. If a square measures 3 inches on each side, then the area of the square is 3 times 3, which equals 9 square inches. To determine the surface area of a rectangle, simply multiply the width of the rectangle by the length. The answer is measured in square units. For example, if the width is 12 inches and the length is 20 inches, the surface area of this rectangle is 240 square inches. Remember, area is always measured in square units, such as square inches, square feet, or square yards. When using metric measure in construction, the square meter is preferred. Very large areas may be expressed in square kilometers, and very small areas in square millimeters. Avoid use of square centimeters. When using linear dimensions such as 215 millimeters times 710 millimeters, indicate width first and height second. For example, 215 millimeters by 710 millimeters is correct. Let's look at the square area of a triangle to determine the surface area. Regardless of the shape of the triangle, the area of a triangle is always 1/2 the quantity of the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. The formula is A equals 1/2 times B times H, where B is the length of the base and H is the altitude or height of the triangle. If the height of the triangle is 10 inches and the base is 30 inches, the area of the triangle is 10 times the base of 30 inches times 1/2, which equals 150 square inches of surface. By dividing a rectangle diagonally, you can easily understand how the surface area of a triangle is derived. This forms 2 equal-sized triangles. The rectangle's length is equal to the triangle's base, and the width of the rectangle is the same as the triangle's height. Because the rectangle is divided in half, the total area of each triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. You can also calculate circular areas once you find the diameter or radius. The formula is quite simple. The area of the circle is equal to pi times the radius squared, or pi r squared. For example, if the radius is 3 feet, square it by multiplying it by itself. This is 3 times 3, or 9. Multiply this product times pi, which is about 3.14. The result is 28.26 square feet. Now, complete the practice exercises for square measure in your workbook.